Can you imagine a knight trying to stab somebody in the middle of the street?
Trying to stab a car.
He's like, oh, dragon!
Like, it looks like somebody stabbed my Tesla. What the hell?
And you're
Is
like,
this
"Oh,
a broadsword?
Oh, man.
I vanquished.
And we threw his ass in the psych ward.
The name of the dragon was Tesla. Oh, Tesla the dragon.
Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor.
I'm Danny.
And welcome to the world of unknown.
Yes.
We're going to talk about something that's kind of Twilight Zone-ish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like...
Something weird.
Yeah, very weird.
As
like,
usual, world of unknown. Yeah, what are we jumping into?
Time slips.
Time slips. Okay, and then a lot of you guys probably know what time slips are, and if you don't know, let's give a brief, obviously we're going to give, stories about time slips, but let's give a brief explanation of time slips. So what are time slips, Trevor?
So time slips, imagine you're walking down the road, you're going to the store, and then all of a sudden, you're not in 2025 anymore. You're back in 1800s.
Right.
And you're surrounded by, like we're in Nevada, you're just desert, maybe some Native Americans looking at you.
Yeah, you're looking around like
what the hell? Like nothing, the city of Las Vegas does not exist anymore.
Coughing, there's a lot of dust everywhere. Like, what is going on here?
Yep.
And then you're back.
And then you're right back.
You turn around and you're back in front of the 7-Eleven you're trying to go to. And like,
yep.
Like, what the hell just happened, right?
Well, sometimes you talk to people, sometimes you don't.
Again, we've all heard stories about that. If you haven't, well, there's a bunch out there, man. And some people think it's made us up, and some people are diehards that, especially if it's happened to them, that, man, this has happened. So let's jump in a little bit more about exactly core things of time slips. Time slips are like a spontaneous, unintentional shifts in time. So like Trevor talked about, you're walking, suddenly you kind of flash to the past, or sometimes even to the future, where you're just walking and suddenly everything changes for you. And it's not just a visual thing. You can hear stuff, you can smell stuff, you can feel stuff.
You can get hurt
without anything. It's not in the time slips. There's no like time machines. There's no rituals. It just happens.
No.
Like I said, spontaneously. It just happens. So some of the core features for some of these people sometimes. People will sometimes feel a weird sensation, a drop in temperature. Not always, but these are some of the things that have been brought up in some of the stories that we go on. Obviously, the environmental shift, everything kind of changes, and you're walking down the street. Next thing you know, sometimes
trees that weren't there.
Trees weren't
all
there.
Of a sudden they're...
Buildings are looking old. People are looking different. You're just like, what? A horse and buggy? You're like, where the hell did this come from? Right? People have that feeling again of being somewhere different, where they're on the same street, they're walking down the same street, and then suddenly it just ends. They look around and everything is back, and you're kind of left feeling a little bit, disorientated. You're confused and stuff. Some of this kind of time slip stuff, touches on folklore stuff. If you think about it, it's kind of weird. We talk about the Celtic myths, about the fairy realms. People going to the fairy realms could just explain some of this stuff. If you're in the past and you're living in 1692, and suddenly you look at a glimpse into the future of now. Obviously, you think like, well, this is definitely the fairy world, because what the hell is all this? You're looking at cars and the way the buildings are, and the way people are dressed. You think we're fairy stuff.
Walking around with little computers that we're talking into.
That could explain some of this stuff. Japanese legends talking about spirit worlds. Maybe when some of these guys are going into spirit worlds, they're actually coming to the very distant future, and everything looks spirity because everything's different. They don't. It's different.
Or the ancient past.
Or the ancient past. There's tales of knights and monks who had vanished and reappear in the future and stuff. So there's all these weird stories that come up. That
can you imagine a knight trying to stab somebody in the middle of the street?
Trying to stab a car.
He's like, oh, dragon!
Like, it looks like somebody stabbed my Tesla. What the hell? Is this a broadsword?
Oh, man.
I vanquished.
And we threw his ass in the psych ward.
The name of the dragon was Tesla. Oh, Tesla the dragon. It's a little different than Puff the Magic Dragon. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's jump into some examples, some stories out there that we're going on, and we kind of. I look for more of the popular ones that maybe some of you guys know, but maybe if you guys don't know anything about time slips, never really heard about them, that we haven't. Do you want to go ahead and start us off with them? Sure.
All right. This is the Kearsney in Suffolk.
Watch your mouth, buddy.
Oh yeah, I'm bad.
Suffolk,
I'm really bad. Yeah. I'm really
I am too. Don't you worry. Yeah, exactly. I'll put the spelling.
It's a medieval visit from like 1957. So it was right after World War II. It was a Sunday morning, and 3 training soldiers were walking. They were going to the village of Kearsey. And suddenly they said everything changed. And one of the guys, Andrew McKenzie, he said that William Lang, one of the other soldiers, was very observant, and he knows the environment they were walking into.
He'd been there before, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so he was sitting there and he was like, "Hey guys, something's not right. Like the trees are different, the village is a little different."
Yeah.
He even said the grass looked different.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they approached that town from the countryside, and then they went up to it was like a church on a tower in a hill.
Yeah.
And you could hear the bells ringing. So they went about 100 yards from the village, and they kind of hid, and they were just looking at the village.
Because they were freaked out, right? They were like, well,
They were getting freaked out.
Obviously being soldiers, like, let's recon the area and see what's going on, basically.
And the thing that was different was there was no people. There was no smoke coming from the chimneys.
Really. Yeah.
There was no people. And that's what freaked them out the most.
Yeah.
So they sat there. They couldn't even hear bird calls.
Oh, that's creepy.
Like it was just a void.
Dead silent, huh?
Yeah, like almost like a void type thing.
Right.
All the telephone wires, the street lamps, everything was gone. So, because it was 1957, they had electricity. All that was gone to that village. It was just a village.
Okay. So, I mean, in this description, did he say it looked like it was from the past, or they just didn't know? He's just noticing everything was gone. That
he noticed that the buildings were a little different.
Yeah.
All the technology was gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like not even a chimney.
Yeah.
was burning smoke. So it was just a little bit, because a lot of those villages back in like England and Europe, they haven't really changed for hundreds of years.
Especially back in the 50s.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
So when you're going down
after
cobblestone
World War
streets,
II.
you're going down cobblestone streets that are probably laid like in the 1700s, 1600s.
Yeah.
So they were just sitting there and they were just watching
Yeah.
this village, and they're trying to look in the windows. They're trying to find anybody.
Yeah.
Nothing. And they finally find like a butcher shop that has a cow like split open. You
Yeah.
can tell it was getting butchered. Nobody there.
That's creepy.
So then they got this weird feeling, like evil.
Yeah.
They got this evil feeling, and they like a lot of people were watching them.
Yeah.
They called it hostile watchers.
They couldn't see anybody though, but they just
Couldn't
felt
see
like,
anybody,
yeah,
but they
okay.
could feel they were getting surrounded.
Yeah.
And then the church bell rang again. And then all of a sudden there was smoke in the chimney. The telephone wires are back. The village was bustling.
Everything's back to normal.
Everything was back to normal.
Were there people suddenly around them? I guess.
The people were there. Everything was there. And then they kind of just
Yeah.
like, okay.
Did it say the aftermath? What did these guys do? Did some of these stories will tell you about what happened afterwards? Some of them are just like, it's just depending where they got how the story was told. Okay, yeah.
They think they slipped back to when that village was first built back in the 12th century.
Wow. Okay.
So medieval times,
Gotcha.
which is medieval times suck. You don't want to be back there. There's a lot of just horrible things.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing romantic about that. That's interesting. I like that. The description of it right away wasn't like, oh, we were in the past. They're just noticing things that were different, and it wasn't until afterwards they're like, I think now that we think about it, I think we went back in time. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, because even the church was different.
Right, everything's
the church
different.
wasn't fully built like it was now.
And if somebody who had been to that area before to notice the grass different, it had to be vastly different. It was just crazy.
And that was the thing. He immediately was a guy saying,
like this is fucking weird.
Yeah, like that tree wasn't there. The grass is weird.
This grass is weird. And when you feel like grass, we're like, yeah, last time I was here, this looks nothing like that. So obviously, if you think of any place you would go to, like a park that you've been to a lot of times, and you're like, okay,
and you're like,
this is totally different.
Right.
Something's going on here.
And the weird thing was they called it eerie sadness, which kind of just that's medieval times, man. Like it wasn't a beautiful time. It was
it's very terrible.
Yeah, so like evil sadness, eerie sadness, evil, just outright evil.
Well, there's no TV, there's no video games, there's no sports, there's no 7-Elevens.
Black Plague.
There's Black Plague. There's no
hangings.
burgers, exactly, and all the alcohol is terrible. Yeah, there is a very sad and disgusting time, and no one takes any baths.
Yeah,
I was saying nobody washed their hands, but okay, I don't want to get into that.
No one washed anything, all right?
Right, nobody watched anything. All right, well, that's cool, man. I want to get into my story is going to be the Versailles time slip. Versailles in France, basically. So this is from August 10th, 1901. It's Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. They're two Oxford academics.
I don't believe them.
Yeah, I don't believe them. Yeah, bullshit.
Oxford.
Yeah. So they were visiting the Palace of Versailles, one of the main attractions in France. and they were there to exploring the gardens, and they called it Petit Trianon. I don't know the French. It's Marie Antoinette's retreat. The famous Marie Antoinette. So before we get into the story, I went back a little bit and see like who was this Charlotte Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. So I'm just going to call them Moberly and Jourdain. So Charlotte Moberly was. It was actually the first principal of St. Hugh's College of Oxford. Now, I had to look a little more because I'm like, well, St. Hugh's was Oxford? I go, well, basically, and I didn't know this, St. Hugh's is it's not a separate university. It's a constituent college of Oxford, meaning it's part of the it's a part of the university system. So I didn't know that Oxford has a bunch of these branches, and from what this college is going to be is mainly for the women, so these two, so that's why there were two women that could, yes.
Women only.
Her background is obviously up high, back then. Her father was a headmaster of Winchester College and a bishop of Salisbury.
Bishop of Salisbury.
She was going to be she ended up being the first principal of that school. So she was known for intellect and leadership. She's not, she's very academic, basically. She's not known to just put bullshit and she didn't get by, doing weird stuff and fast buck kind of stuff that. Okay. So Jourdain, the other lady with her, it was kind of a weird, it was like an interview trip together. They knew they were going to be working together. This lady that says she was going to hire her on. They call it a deputy and ended up being like her assistant, and she later became a vice principal of that thing. So this trip, they must have known each other before. Went on a trip together to get better acquainted with each other. So we went to France and one little trip. Exactly. It was like a business it's kind of a weird interview process. Like if you're going to go interview someone, like, hey, let's go on a trip to Mexico together, buddy.
Let's go get drunk. I want to see how you are.
I like you. Let's go get smashed. Exactly. Let's go to Tijuana. So that's what they were doing. They were both very scholarly and educated. They both come from distinguished families and stuff. So when Jourdain was the same thing, she became the vice principal and eventually the principal after Moberly had moved on. So their credibility was the respected Oxford academics. They're not prone to fantasy or sensationalisms or trying to make a fast buck off something. So now I bring that up just so the story gets a little more weight. Again, could all be bullshit to begin with, but that's who these ladies were. But these ladies did write a book about this. It happened actually. You can actually go out there and find it. So we got to where they were there. So they were walking down, visiting the. I'm sorry. So they're visiting Versailles, basically. And they were kind of finding the main palace of it kind of, underwhelming as they walked, but they're more about talking. So they went back to go towards Marie Antoinette's retreat, the Petit Trianon. And I don't know this whole area and how it is, but there's little trails that lead off. So when they got off and they started going towards the little trail towards the Petit, whatever. Petit or Petit, I don't know.
Petit. That sounds better.
They kind of missed the main path. And they wandered into like an unfamiliar area, and that's when they said they kind of felt like an atmosphere shift. Everything kind of got heavy. Same thing, no birds, no breeze. Everything kind of got really quiet. Everything felt really flat, like everything felt frozen.
Okay.
So the lights kind of, the light and shadow kind of vanished a little bit. Everything muted. It's almost like stepping into a photo, basically. That's what it kind of thinks to me. If he's kind of stepped into a photo or a painting.
Okay.
They felt an oppressive, dreamlike disorientation. That's what they kind of described. So one of the first things they noticed is Morley saw a woman shaking a white cloth from in a building. Because they're still by the building areas. They're in a big palace area. She was kind of shaking a white cloth, but kindly, almost like a mannequin. Like she wasn't moving, so she was kind of almost still.
Oh, so like a photo. They caught her right in the moment?
Right, okay. Exactly. Then Jourdain noticed a deserted farmhouse with an old-fashioned plow beside that wasn't there. That seemed out of place there. You're in the main palace areas, and you see an old farmhouse. It looked ancient, and it didn't look part of the Versailles they knew. Basically, like, well, that's kind of weird.
Not modern
We're in the palace grounds. Yeah, exactly. And the Versailles has been there for a while, so even like this, I don't remember this as being part of the whole thing. They saw two men in long green gray coats and those little tricorn hats, the little triangle hats. They were looking at him. They were kind of like talking to him, but there was very emotional. It's kind of like people acting, just reading lines, basically.
Oh, very dry.
They couldn't really understand him. It was kind of formal French. It was a different kind of French that they would.
It was more base French.
But yeah, it was like really, if it's, especially if you're back in the 1900s, if you're hearing somebody talk from like the 1600s, it's kind of hard. The dialect is
the dialect's
weird.
very different from then, yeah.
A woman handed a jug to a girl outside the cottage. Their clothing was kind of 18th century, which at that point, Jordan and Morbely were just coming out of 18th century. So it had to probably be early 18th century. Or if you do the whole...
Well, no, actually 18th century would be like the 1700s.
Basically,
yeah,
that's because if you do that whole look at it...
I don't know why we do that.
Right, it's really confusing. But yeah, so it looked like 100 years before. And then there was a man near the Temple de l'Armor. He saw a man with a shady hat and cloak, and his face was pockmarked.
He was trying to steal
and he was
shit.
kind of just staring him down. So he had like an evil expression. There was another tall man, and this is as they were walking along. This is the stuff they saw. So they weren't really sure what was going on. They obviously just keep walking, and they didn't stop. They're just like, okay, well, that's weird. In the farmhouse, okay. And then so they passed this other guy, this tall man with a curly black hair, and he had a really big hat. And he, I guess they were trying to ask the way to the Petite Trianon. So they asked him, and he kind of showed them the way, kind of pointed the way to what they're doing as they're going.
So they're actually they're actually talking to these people.
Yeah, there's a few of these people that talk to. Right, yeah. Well, that's what it was. Some of these people are still, some are moving, some are talking. They don't understand what's going on. We saw a woman in a white dress and green sashes sketching off to the side there by the, and her posture and clothing felt really regal. Really like, when they saw it, like, oh, wow. I mean, that whoever they, and I think at this point they thought maybe they're actors or they didn't know what was going on. They're like, that person that looks really regal, looks really, like a commanding figure or whatever. And they actually later identify her as Marie Antoinette herself. They think they caught her in the middle of sketching I guess she was the grass or something, and she'd make photos or, or whatever it was.
She was on her off time.
She was on her off time. So they finally flipped back to current times. And when they went back and, afterwards discussing it, they tried to go back again to see if that same area was there, and it wasn't there anymore. When they returned it for size, they couldn't find that little path they were on.
Okay.
It was different. And they're like, well, where's that weird? I think at this point, they thought it was still something that was set up that way. They thought it was something kind of...
It was part of the whole thing.
Part of the whole thing, yeah. I guess they're the only way to explain it. If you felt something like that and it shifted... I don't know.
Well, then you'd have to ask someone like way back then, like, all right, was there an extra path here, or did we get rid of it?
Exactly, and I don't know. Some of this part of the story is missing. Like I didn't know they went backward this way, or they just kept going on, or. And I guess if it's something weird, so weird happens to you sometimes, you're kind of like, okay, and you don't think about it until later on. You're like, man, that was really weird. That was fun. You start talking about it, or I don't know. It's kind of a lot of missing part of the story. But this was, yeah. So when they went back. And they described a lot of the old stuff. They went back and they realized something weird had happened, and they went back through the records and they found all the old things they saw, like the farmhouse and the people wearing the clothes. They went back and matched it to historical events and like, okay, well, hey, during this time, this is what that's what that one guy was wearing. It looks just like, and they're looking at old sketches and because they don't have photos, old sketches of stuff that they were looking at. They have published their account. It's called An Adventure. It's from 1911. They used pseudonyms to protect their reputations. Obviously, they didn't want people to look at it.
Well, now we know who you are.
Now we know who we are. But basically, yeah. So for these women to branch out there and put the story out there and risk the reputation as some of the first women to run colleges and stuff was very.
That's big.
It was big, so I would imagine either they're just trying to make a quick buck, or this really happened. Or they think it happened. But and you, one person, you think like, okay, you just had an episode. But for two people, then it starts getting a little like seeing the same things. Like, well,
it's a little different. Even even psychedelics, you'd have to be on like a ayahuasca or something to be like that,
or LSD, where when you go, hey, look at that, you see that? Oh yeah,
I see that.
Wow.
LSD wasn't even invented back then.
Exactly. I know some mushrooms or whatever the fuck, but yeah. So it was. I'd like to actually check out that book and some of the stuff. Yeah, and I'm sure it's in French, and they probably have it, in English now, but it'd probably be a hard read. But it'd be interesting to find out more details about this. It's kind of brisk in some of the details, just like an overall summary of what happened and stuff. So there's still some questions I have about that story, but it's pretty interesting, the stuff they went.
I want to know if they talked to Marie Antoinette.
And they went, I guess maybe they didn't, because they didn't realize. They're just like, man, that lady looks. And then they went back and they realized when they saw sketches of it, they go, That lady we saw sketching was Marie Antoinette. You realize that? And she's looking, let me see. She's like, they're probably like, holy shit, yeah, that was her.
Someone sketched her of her.
I think they caught her a moment in time right before her whole thing came crashing down, basically, because it wasn't, I mean, she was, it ended really bad for the whole French, monarchy and all that stuff like that. So the French Revolution. So they thought they just caught a time just before the French Revolution. Although like the farmhouse is probably even before then. It looked like they were going different steps.
Yeah, it could have been like right when she came into. Because if she's sketching,
so
then there's not like a lot going on. There's that's more of a peacetime thing to go sketch in front of a bunch of people.
Well, here's the kind of thing. So it's simply when they go, and I don't know exactly. This is how it was kind of put out to me, led to me. So if they went into this photo or time slip, and it sent like maybe they went back really far back to where there was no palace, just a farmhouse, and then it went back over. So they kind of dipped and went back this way, when they're walking through. Kind of a weird.
So they went to different times at the same time.
Same time. The more they walked, the more wind, and then it just kind of started. Yeah. So it went so far back that there was no palace, and then suddenly started to go back up. And then she's meeting different and seeing different variations on the way.
That's a different time slip.
Yeah, but there's no rules of time slips. I mean, time slips aren't even supposed to exist, basically, or are they? Anyways, so let's go on to I thought it was very interesting, and that's again, I like this one because there's a book written about it by these two ladies. These two ladies are supposed to be,
he likes
Oxford.
Yeah, he just likes books. He likes reading.
I don't know, old French books. I don't know. That'd be very. If I can't get it on my Kindle, I'm not going to do it.
All right,
all right. I'm sure it's all there. Let's jump into your next story, bud.
All right, so. For some reason in Liverpool, a lot of time slips happen. Apparently, this is like a place where
Bold Street,
a lot of people,
Yep.
So, 1996, July 7th. He's walking down the street.
Mm-hmm. What street is it?
I think it was, what street was that?
Bold Street, right?
Yeah, Bold Street.
Yes, Bold Street. Very interesting street.
So, he's in Suffolk, and Liverpool. So a lot of this happened in Suffolk and Liverpool. I don't know why. Maybe there's a certain energy there. Maybe it's just ley lines.
I was going to say, I wonder if the ley lines are there.
Maybe. So this guy, Frank, he's a policeman off duty. He went to go get his wife some books. Oh, no, he went to go meet his wife at a bookshop called Dylan's down the street. So he's walking. All of a sudden, he's like on the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden, a 1950s car comes out of nowhere and almost hits him.
Right.
And so he's kind of like, all right, like what the fuck?
We're like, what the hell?
And then he looks down and he realizes he's in the middle of the road.
Right. Before he wasn't.
Yeah. Before he was on the sidewalk. Now he's in the middle of the road. Now, in the 50s, that was just a big wide road.
Gotcha.
They later put pedestrian sidewalks and it adjusted the road.
Okay, right.
Sidewalks were gone. He's in the 50s.
It's the 90s again that this happened.
Sorry. So he's in the 90s, but it shot him back to 1950.
Gotcha, because he's the car. He knows the car kind of,
So the car honked at him. He realizes he's in the middle of the road. So he tries to get out of the road. He keeps going. He turns into Crips. I guess that's a store.
Yeah.
Where he could see people dressed in 1940s and 50s style clothing.
Yeah.
So now he's like, all right, what's going on?
Was that supposed to be the bookstore?
Well, that's not even the bookstore yet. He's still walking to the bookstore.
Okay, so he just sees.
He just saw like this store called Crips, and that's when he saw all these like people. Dressed in like 50s clothes.
So he went to go check it out. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. Right. So then he sees this girl in modern day clothing enter the shop, and he's like, all right. So then he walks in, and the next thing you know, it turns back into Dylan's. So I guess actually no, Crips was Dylan's back in 1950s.
Gotcha.
So apparently, I guess two people walked into the time slip.
Yeah. Okay. So so he saw the girl.
Yeah. So he saw the girl
the clothing store.
So he sees. Let me rephrase this. So he sees a bunch of people in 1950s clothing in the store that he thought was a bookshop.
Yeah.
That got him. Then he sees a girl that's in 1996 clothing walk into the bookshop, and then the bookshop turns back into the bookshop.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was kind of like a weird.
Yeah. So she noticed difference too, basically.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So he went in there. He couldn't find the girl.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Girl, he couldn't find. He went back in the store. He
Ooh, it's
couldn't
kind of
find
like
the girl.
like a bleed together. So he's
Maybe.
watching this, and it just kind of
Yeah. So that was the thing. Like that was the first thing he went in to try to find and ask her what she saw.
Yeah.
The girl was nowhere to be found.
Really? Okay.
So he was like, "Oh, okay, what's going on?"
Huh.
But he's a police officer. He's trained to do observance. He's not going to lie about things.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird little Bold Street. I want to know what Bold Street like. Apparently, there's a bunch of stories going on.
Maybe
Bold
that
Street.
should be a future episode of Bold Street in Liverpool, because I've heard other stories about that. That's very weird stuff that happens there. So a lot of paranormal things going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah, it's a good story. Yeah, I think I've heard that when you mentioned the Crips story. Crips.
No, yeah, Crips. It's called
And it
Crips.
crosses the blood stores, so they always fight in the stores. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they
Crips
throw
and Bloods.
paint at each other.
Anyways, yeah, I've heard that story. It's just been a while that I've seen that one and stuff. So that was an interesting one because it's this guy, a police officer who goes in, and the big thing about the sidewalk and almost getting by the car.
Yeah.
And, that's interesting.
And the main thing with the girl is he noticed that she had a name brand handbag.
That he recognized. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a current
it was like
90s at the time.
Yeah, it was a handbag that he
Gotcha.
noticed, and he was like, "Okay, I know that." And that's when she walked in the store, and then it became Dylan's again.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it had, even if it's like a dimensions clashing, they had a name bag a handbag that he could recognize.
Yeah. But the clothing store was all vintage 1950 stuff. When you looked at these, he was just
until
like,
she walked through the door.
Yeah. Oh,
and then it
interesting.
went right
Yeah.
back to the bookstore.
that's creepy, man. That's weird. That
What would have happened? Well, this is my thing. So we're telling you stories of people that made it back. What happens? How many people have time slipped and not made it
that's
back?
what I was going to thinking. I was going to bring it up
what
towards
if,
the end, but
what if you're at Gettysburg?
Yeah, and
And
never
you
come
time
back.
slip right in the middle of the battle,
Yeah,
and you
you
got
get
shot.
killed. Yeah, exactly. No one ever knows. Like,
And you're like, oh, I don't know who this guy
look at
is.
this bloke. Look at the way he's dressed. Exactly.
Because they just threw, I mean,
Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
it was just
Yeah.
a big mass grave.
Or especially like it was if you're in an area that was not there, or maybe it was very hostile. If your area that it was water or something, that you could have been like exactly. We'll jump more into that a little bit later. There's some of the theories and stuff, but yeah, I thought about that too. Let's go ahead and jump to my next story. It's the I got another one from France. And from 1979, this is the Montélimar Hotel disappearance. And from 1979. So this is two British couples, Jeff and Pauline Simpson, and Lynn and Cynthia Gisby, whatever. They were middle-aged travelers. It says not known for paranormal interest. We're not really sure about that and everything. Well, they're in this document. They had interviews, and it's been featured on TV specials and everything. So this is where near southeastern France, Montélimar, basically. And I know I'm not saying that right, guys. They're on the way to Spain at the time. They're on vacation together. These two couples together. And from what I remember here, they were directed to. They were trying to get a nearby a motel, and they were directed to go to this that they didn't have a vacancy, so they found this really quiet road where they found a small little Victorian rustic looking little hotel.
Like a hostel kind
yeah, and it looked like it was kind of getting late. So they noticed that this building had like wooden shutters instead of glass windows, kind of Victorian plumbing look into it, no modern amenities, phones or elevators when they went in. When they went in, all the staff is dressed. What they said is like, remember, this is almost 1980. They said this is like pre-World War II uniforms, like 1930, 1920s kind of uniforms. Everybody spoke formal French. Their mannerisms were really old feeling. Like if you would step back in time, you would notice the difference of
curtsies and shit.
Yeah, or whatever. So they went in. I guess they got the room and stuff. The rooms are clean, but they're very antiquated. So I guess at this point they're thinking like it's just one of those little theme, hotels.
They're
just
really into it.
Really get into it and stuff. But they noticed the beds had large. They call bolsters instead of pillows. The sheets are really heavy. And they're like, instead of locking the handle, they had like wooden latches to lock the door.
Like that keeps people out.
The bathroom had antiquated plumbing. The furniture was really, antique and rustic and handmade. So it all added to the whole sense of like, back in time kind of feeling to them. But this time they're not thinking that. They're just like, okay, this is kind of weird. It's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Let's get into it.
So they went to dinner. They were served a simple meal. They said steak, eggs, and fries. You know, and the fries are potatoes, basically. And locally brewed beer.
I bet. You know what I want to know? Did that taste better than what we have?
That's what I'm wondering
nowadays?
too. It didn't say how they taste. They're like, man, this is 97 and people stuff was still kind of, but I'm pretty sure it tastes a lot better. They're like, man, this stuff is pretty fucking good. So I looked into seeing if there was any interactions with the staff or more of the people other than ordering food. I guess it was kind of getting later. There was no really interaction, other than themselves outside with the staff and ordering food. So soon afterwards, they went to bed and everything. Again, I kind of tried to delve in the story to see if they did anything else in there. But I guess being in late hour, they were just on their way to Spain. It's not really.
They just wanted.
They didn't want to
sleep and
spend
get
time.
out.
They just want to sleep and get out and get to Spain, where they were going to. So they went to sleep. So in the morning, when they woke up, they kind of encountered. I guess to go down for breakfast, they kind of encountered a woman in a long silk evening holding a small dog, which was kind of a weird setting. Holding it was some.
She needs a
No.
I can see the big
Yes.
cigarette. And she's like,
It was an unusual setting for breakfast. It was enough, weird enough where you see something like, well, that's weird.
that's a
Weird,
little odd.
exactly. They also saw two French policemen in uniforms that looked like, they said really old, like pre-1900s kind of, set. So,
Okay.
which is weird, which would make me think exactly what time period this hotel was. They're saying everything's pre-World War II, but they're saying these guys, maybe they went back and looked with the
Well, maybe when
uniforms.
they went to bed, it was pre-World War II, and when they
again.
woke up,
Yeah.
it was
Again, we'll talk about
1800s.
that dip again, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. That's interesting. So when they saw the policeman, they asked the directions to the auto route, they call it, like maybe like the highway,
Yeah.
or there's something. And the officers appeared a little bit like confused by it. Like they didn't understand what auto route was. They're like, and they're like, well, okay, well, maybe with stuff being built, we don't understand what you're trying to say, but there's a road. They directed them to an old road that's off the main highway, which to them was off the main highway. Like, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but there is a road down that way, basically.
Okay.
So when they went to go check out, the total bill for all four of them was only 19 francs, which is really cheap back then. So they were trying to tell the that manager at the time, like, no, this is for all four of us. He's like, yeah, 19 francs. So he's like, okay. And even the so it's funny, even the French, I guess the French policemen were there, and even they were like, yeah, that's the same price. You guys, they were close enough at that point. They probably they said, yeah, no, that's they confirmed
what we
it.
charge.
That's what we charge. He goes, all right. So they said they had took a bunch of photos. They took a photo of Miss Simpson by a window and some other photos, but when they later on checked it, there were no photo. The images of the hotel were just gone. There was just blanks. There wasn't like it was damaged or anything. It was just nothing there. There's just missing frames of where the hotel should have been, or where their photos should have been. It was just missing. So,
Okay.
yeah.
If they're taking photos, let's say it's with 1980s,
Yeah, in 1979, yeah.
you don't think the staff would have been like, what is that? Because they didn't have that back in the
Right. Well, and I'm not sure they're doing this in front of them or something. It didn't seem like this place didn't seem super busy, but maybe whatever photos they took at the time, exactly. Right. What it seemed, what is that? When they tried to go back to find that same little, because they thought it was on enough to go find it again, it was gone. There wasn't that. They went down that same road and they couldn't find that. They looked around for it all. They even asked locals, and the locals are like, there's been no hotel there for decades. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no knowledge of it for a lot of these locals are just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Jeff Simpson, one of the couples there, he underwent hypnosis in 1985 to recover more details, but no new information had surfaced. Again, they had gone on and documented everything. They had interviews and stuff and some books and stuff like that. So it's a weird kind of time slip. Again, we talked about down just like the other Versailles one, back up. So they saw these people in pre-World War II uniform. Then they saw the French policemen like 1905, 1900s, and maybe back up again, and it all kind of coalesced together. Because maybe those French policemen were kind of experiencing the same thing too. It's like, it's weird. We saw people that talking about the World War II, and then we saw some people that looked really weird, the 1979 people. What if it
They
did?
were asking for a highway.
And they all saw it. Maybe the hotel's like, we've had some weird people in today. We had some French policemen that looked like they were from fucking 1900s, and then we had these other weird people like, I don't know what the fuck they were wearing.
They're like, this is a weird day, guys.
Right. So
Damn, yeah, I didn't think about it. Like those people, I wonder if they see it.
yeah. Well, obviously, because they're they're interacting with them. The policemen are talking to them. They saw the lady with the dog. So they were interacting with the staff and everything. So I'm sure it was kind of weird on all those aspects. Everybody together.
Yeah.
So here's the only part of that story that gets to me. Again, so these people stood by the story for decades. Okay, they had featured in paranormal documentaries and books, and so one thing was nobody kind of they never talked about people reacting to their clothing, their car, pull up in the car. Maybe people didn't see out there. Maybe inside the hotel.
Okay,
Maybe inside the hotel they couldn't see that.
Maybe, but also in the 1950s. Well, it was like
This
what?
is pre-1950. This is 19. This is
There
like
still was
1930s.
cars. Well, the cars were just starting to come out.
Well, they were all like
Model Ts.
Model T, maybe a little bit more, but not much. It was before the 1950s. You know, there was kind of, but yeah. Well, maybe they couldn't see outside. Maybe when they looked out, they couldn't see the car. I don't know.
Maybe they just saw what they saw.
Right, but the clothing would have been a little. But then again,
odd, especially 79.
if you're in a hotel, if you're something, you see people with weird clothing, you're kind of like, okay, they're just wearing some weird.
As long as they
whatever.
pay.
Yeah, as long as they fucking pay. Which brings up another thing: the pay. I looked into the francs.
Had to be different, right?
1970 francs was totally different than the 1930 francs, and nothing was brought up about them noticing anything different about it. I would imagine the innkeeper would look at this and like, "The fuck is this?" Like, no, this is not. Yeah, because there was different. It was, first of all, it's made of different material. It was different photos because different leaders on there and stuff. So that's one thing in the story that gets it to be like, bullshit. The other thing is like, well, maybe in a time slip when they paid them,
it was the normal money.
It was the normal money. Maybe because I mean, maybe in a time slip, people will notice stuff because maybe you're wearing stuff that's equal to what they have on.
Could be.
But they wouldn't make a difference because why do we notice they have something different, but then we would look something? I don't know. It is,
So then technically we wouldn't even notice the difference between if someone time slipped here because they would be wearing our clothes.
So that
that's
would
how
make
we
sense.
would see it.
Right.
Because,
so
I'm
spitballing here. But
reality
maybe the money,
is what you perceive.
Maybe the money was something equal to what they did. Maybe that didn't time slip with them. I don't know why it wouldn't because their clothes did. They had everyone's clothes, but that would explain it again, or it could just be a bunch of bullshit and they,
And I would like to know if when they looked out the window, they saw their car.
Yeah.
Or if it was only when they walked out the front door.
Right. So,
God, there's too many questions.
There's too many questions. Exactly. So
my thing with the camera, when I was researching this, I was thinking, I go, look, if I time slipped, first thing I would do, especially if it was really noticeable, like I'm like, holy shit, I'm in like fucking medieval times right now. I pull my phone out and start recording shit.
Right, exactly.
And then somebody was asking me, they go, well, what if the thing that brought you there kind of wipes technology?
Kind of like these people.
And so whatever photo they took, it just
maybe it does.
They thought it was working. It never worked.
It never worked, exactly.
I'm like, I didn't think about that.
So then also the confusion about the amount of the francs. So I look back. So a 10 franc coin from 1979 would be in 1930 terms would probably be like $100 for a look. So and that difference and everything didn't cost as much then. So it would be a huge difference, and that's just 1930. That's I don't know what the
Yeah, but would they know that? Because we only know that because it's in the future.
It's true. Yeah.
Would they know that? Because I mean, a franc would be a franc to them. They wouldn't know, like, oh well, 80 years from now, that's
this ain't gonna buy shit. Exactly.
Get that nonsense out of here.
Frankly, I don't care.
I don't care.
Oui.
Let's start the revolution.
All right, man. Let's go to the next story here.
All right, this one actually was one of my favorites.
Okay.
So, Avebury Village. It was like it's like a fair.
Okay.
So there's a village, Avebury. Dude, I'm horrible at this.
Avery or Avery?
Avebury.
Spell it.
Avebury.
Oh boy, Avebury.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Avebury.
Avebury. Okay.
So this lady, Edith Oliver, she's driving down the road in October 1916.
Yeah.
She's traveling from oh, dude, these names are gonna kill me. So she's traveling from somewhere, and she's just going.
I'm sorry. What area is this at? Where were we at?
I think this is in
England or
maybe England.
Okay, it sounds like. Okay. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
England, maybe Scotland.
Okay, just in the British Isles, basically. Okay.
Yeah, in the British Isles.
Right.
So she's feeling a little tired, and she wanted to find an inn. Mm-hmm. So she turns off the main road, and she starts driving down this avenue. The next thing she knows, there's like megalithic upright stone structures. Like think of like
almost like Stonehenge kind of thing.
Yeah, stuff like that. So
in the middle of almost like a rural setting. Not rural, but almost like a
Yeah, it'd be rural. It'd be like a rural area.
Gotcha.
So she ends up like pulling over and she's like, oh, these are cool. So she gets out and she's like looking at these structures.
So it's an area she's not really familiar with, so she thought they're supposed to be there.
She knows the structures.
Yeah.
Because she knows like they're known for the town.
Gotcha. All right. So when she saw them, she's like, oh, cool. Yeah.
But the thing is, some of those structures didn't make it to 1916.
Okay. But she didn't realize that.
She didn't know that because she's never been there before.
She's like,
she just
neat.
knows they have these structures.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's like, okay, cool. These are cool. And like, so she started looking. So she gets out. She's looking. It's raining. Starts raining harder. She looks out and she can see people with like torches. And there's a fair going on.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they're playing games and they're doing things and they're just having fun. It's a big fair.
Yeah.
Then it starts raining even harder. And so she's like, oh, well, shit, I got to get in the car. So she gets back in her car, takes off. Next thing she knows, so she leaves. The thing she finds out, she went back. Later on, like I think it was like a year later, I want to say, she goes back. And she's like, okay, I want to see all this again and I want to take photos.
So she never went down to the ferry. She just kind of, okay.
Because the rain was too hard.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
So the rain was too hard. That's why she went back to her car.
So a year later, she goes back.
So she leaves. She couldn't find a cottage or inn or anything. So she just kept driving. So she goes back a year later. It's different. A lot of the structures she saw weren't there
vastly
anymore.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, weren't there. There was some, but there weren't all.
She's like, wow, what the
and
hell
so she
happened?
was like, okay. So she decides to take a tour.
Mm-hmm.
She gets a map. Map looks different. She's like, okay. So she looks at the tour guide and she's like, hey, I was here last year and they had a fair going on. He's like, we haven't had a fair since like 1850.
Yeah. This was 1916?
1916.
Gotcha.
So he's like, yeah, the 1850 was the last fair that we've ever had here. And she's like, no. So it was actually, it was 9. Yeah. It was 9 years later. It wasn't a year later. She came back 9 years later.
Yeah.
So she's sitting there talking to the guide and he was like, yeah, no, we haven't had a fair. And then so she starts telling him what she saw.
Yeah.
And the guy's looking at her and he's like, dude, like what you're kind of describing was like early 1800s.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that didn't happen. And she was like, no, that, like, I saw it. I saw it all.
I was there, yeah.
I saw this, I saw that. And he was like, no, we haven't done it. Like,
this poor guy couldn't even say, man, this lady's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's because they didn't have Cocoa Puffs back then. This lady's cuckoo for something. I don't know. I wish there was something that I could have, imagine.
So the other thing was, just like one of your stories.
Yeah.
The avenue she drove down disappeared.
Yeah, okay.
So that's when the guy was like, no, that's early 1800s because that avenue, they got rid of it.
Yeah.
And when they got rid of it, it was like 1800.
Well, okay.
So you're talking about something that even was way back before the last fair we had.
Yeah.
And so she started, like, she was like, oh, okay. Like,
interesting. That's, and in the whole, again, the dip and up. Because it goes back a little bit farther, and it kind of...
Yeah, but I think the way because when she said the fair, he goes, the last fair we had was 1850.
Yeah.
And so she was, okay, and then she described the avenue. And he goes, no, there's megalithic structures, and he goes, that avenue hasn't existed since 1800.
Yeah.
They got rid of it, they moved, like, and that's when she realized, like, whatever she saw was pre-1800.
Yeah.
So it could have been 1700s, it could have been, but she doesn't know.
It's never just like you slip in. It kind of like you slip in and it whether it dips or it goes up like this and then...
Yeah. But for her, it's just like, that's...
Yeah.
I got to admit, that's kind of cool that you pulled over in the rain and then you see people having a whole fair.
Yeah, you're like, oh, cool. That's neat.
And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And she said they were playing games. They had torches. Yeah. And they were walking around and like... The thing was, I don't think it was raining on them. Because the way she's describing it.
That's true. If you had like a torches that...
The way she's describing, and why would, if it's rain, because she said it was raining hard.
Yeah.
If it's raining hard, why are you outside?
Yeah.
Especially with torches, they're not going to get lit.
Having fun like nothing.
So I'm wondering if that rain was that buffer zone keeping her, like, I wonder if she could, even if she wanted to, she couldn't walk through that.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
She wouldn't have made it there for some reason, like Twilight Zone type shit.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, like, fuck, 300 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You're seeing people do things 300 years ago. That's pretty
That's
cool.
crazy. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that story. That's pretty neat. And that's neat that I can imagine that poor guy's talking to you like, no,
I
that was
can see him. He's like, no,
no,
lady.
sure, okay. You know what? If I say yes, will you go away? If I agree with you, would you just go away, please?
No, I saw the structure.
You're like,
no,
sure,
you didn't.
Why not? Exactly.
I know you didn't see that structure because the structure got buried.
Right, exactly. So we talked about a lot of past time slips and stuff. I'm gonna do one that kind of slips into the future, which it's not my favorite story, but it is interesting enough that I like. And this one's not that any of these people that put it up are like reputable and credible stories that are general. So this is the Nevada futuristic diner story that I found. This story comes from a account post in 2008 from Paranormal Soup forums, and it circulated through Phantoms of Monsters and Mysterious Universes, all those kind of paranormal stuff. So take that as you will.
With a grain of salt.
With a grain of salt. A lot of the stories are, I would say like 99% are all bullshit. But anyways, it was different and interesting enough about time slips. And this is from a person only known as LM. They didn't give the full story. So this took back in 1997.
Lying motherfucker.
So him and a buddy were driving through Central Nevada, near the town of Tonopah. They're going on Highway 375, which is also known as extraterrestrial highway. It's by it's by Air 51.
I actually got to drive by that.
There we go. Runs close to Nellis Air Force Range. Obviously, this region's notorious for UFO sightings, the military secrets, and all the time anomaly reports, all the Area 51 stuff that you have. So LM and a friend were driving late at night, and they saw a nice bright diner on the side of the road. So and it had one of those old 1950s styles,
like
those
Peggy
old
Sue?
retros, like Peggy Sue. And so I guess like we're hungry, let's stop in, with the glowing signs. But when they pulled into the parking lot, it was filled with a bunch of weird looking, unusual vehicles. They said they looked really futuristic. The vehicles. They saw motorcycles that didn't really look like they had any visible engines. Like they could tell they're motorcycles, but there was no engines they could see. Like,
okay,
they were enough to be like, "Wow, man, check that! Those motorcycles don't have engines." And like, it's just maybe they're fake, or I don't know, But it was kind of weird. Like, okay, maybe they thought it was part of the aesthetic for the, for the place. Like, okay, maybe this is part of the whole.
Let's go with it.
I'm gonna say that they had realized that this diner wasn't listed on any map when they pulled out, but they were just like, screw it, we'll go in. Or
maybe they just built it.
Yeah,
Who knows?
the road leading up there, they said was unpaved and unmarked. Anyway, so they might have
like most things in Nevada.
Yeah. So they said they had a GPS, so it'd probably been like a Tom's.
The old ones.
Yeah. What were they called? The Tom's guide.
Tom.
Tom-Toms, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They probably had those, and it didn't register that. But Tom-Toms were noticed for that. It was notorious for not being exactly.
Well, they were a little late. Like it wasn't like our phone now. It was more like they would update like very rarely,
and it would only have like main highways and stuff. A lot of the small roads didn't have it, so that didn't surprise me too much. So upon entering this 1950s thing, it was all like the chrome age tables, the red vinyl booths, the glowing jukebox, playing music they weren't familiar with, but it was just kind of the name, like the retro Peggy Sue's kind of feel to it. The staff wore the uniforms that matched the whole 1950s thing. But they said their mannerisms were really I guess they could describe it as robotic. They didn't when the waitress spoke to him, it was like monotone. It wasn't like, hey, how you doing? It was like, hi, what can I get you?
My name is Becky.
They said she smiled without blinking, but never made direct eye contact, which is kind of weird. And they noticed the other patrons were kind of unmoving. They're very silent. Other than the music playing, no one's really doing. So and I looked this up. They said the other patrons kind of looking ahead. I don't know how many other patrons are there. They said some were sipping coffee, some without even lifting their cup, which is like, what? So some are
like a straw?
Yeah, some were doing this.
Straw?
Maybe some they couldn't see it, right? They kept saying none of these people blinked. All right, the whole, their clothing looked futuristic, basically, kind of a weird metallic-looking fabrics.
So we're talking about like Back to the Future type futuristic.
Maybe, yeah, maybe kind of stuff. That's what I thought about.
Have hoverboards,
right? Hoverboards.
I want that. If that comes out, I want one.
Doc who kept telling everybody to run for it, Marty.
We need 80 miles an hour.
1.21 gigawatts. Yeah. So when they looked at the menu, they said they had the regular stuff like burgers and omelet stuff, but it was like strange additions, like they said protein wafers and vitamin shots were added on the thing. So again, I guess when they're there, thinking like, oh, that's kind of funny. Look what they put on here. It's kind of a weird,
As long as they have pancakes, I'm good.
And I guess 97 protein wafers is not that weird. You were kind of beginning to delve into kind of a
Protein bars.
kind
And
of
all the
protein bar. I
supplements and
remember I
stuff
had
like
some.
that.
They're terrible, but I remember having kind of that stuff.
But vitamin shots though.
They said that vitamin shot.
That's
Yeah,
a little weird.
So the coffee tasted normal, but the syrup had a metallic aftertaste, and the eggs were fine, but they were perfectly uniform. You know, they were almost like looked synthetic, basically. But I guess they tasted okay. They had a TV playing a news broadcast, and it mentioned dates that hadn't happened yet. And again, they're thinking this is all part of the whole aesthetic and part of the whole show of the whole place. But they talked about a reference to a Pacific quake in 2011 and Mars mining initiative. Details that the LM had realized that were odd years later, but it was enough they got a kick out of it. Like, look at 2011, that's funny, because it's 97.
Was there actually a quake in 2011?
There actually was a quake in 2011. So before we get to that, so the bill was printed in they said translucent slip, and there was no like currency symbols. It was just like a string of numbers and a barcode. So they tried to pay for cash. They said the waitress kind of paused, looked at the money, and then just like, okay, and she took it.
Like it was old vintage cash or some shit?
Basically, like it almost, they almost paused and then kind of looking like, I guess it's still, whatever, it's still.
Maybe she was downloading the info.
Maybe, that's what I'm thinking,
will cover
right.
the bill.
So the weird thing is, right after they finished meeting, I guess, and after eating, and they finished paying their bill, they started feeling really uneasy. The silence in the diner kind of really deepened, and they kind of noticed all the patrons who were still kind of motionless started like staring at them. And started gazing at him.
Ooh, this horror movie type shit.
And then they suddenly, the waitress comes back, and when they stood to leave, the waitress just said, "Come back anytime." But her voice sounded kind of distorted, echoey, kind of weird, way.
Oh, so kind of like the
time
slip was like
I think it was
dying out.
Exactly. So they went outside. The air felt thicker, and the neon lights of the diner began to flicker. All the futuristic vehicles were gone. They were replaced by a few like old vehicles. They saw one motorcycle with no engine, but an old motorcycle. The engine was all taken out.
Yeah.
Their GPS recalibrated when they were in their TomTom, and that little road that they were on was no more, and the diner area was no longer marked. So I guess the diner heads originally on the GPS was on. I don't know. The story gets a real erratic on them.
So maybe the GPS was reading futuristic.
Maybe. Exactly.
GPS markers?
Right. They attempted to go back down that route and retraced it, and obviously they couldn't find anything. No building, no signage, nothing, no road or nothing that could lead to. They're trying to go back to that place.
All right, this is where I'm calling kind of shit. You had a futuristic motorcycle.
Yeah.
Then when you walk out, there's an old vintage motorcycle with no engine.
Right.
But then when you come back, you can't find anything.
Nothing. So hold on, let's see. But so later on, this LM guy, he'd reoccurring dreams of the diner. He's always seen the same waitress. He sees the same patrons. He's experiences deja vu with events mentioned in the diner's television. Most notably, the 2011 Pacific earthquake that appeared off by Japan. So when I saw this story,
that one?
Yes. So when I saw this story, I'm like, okay, did he mention this 2011? Because in 2008 is when he brought this up, when this was brought out.
Did he mention the 2011?
So 2000. So that's what I mentioned, and I asked, and I looked up because I asked again. I use AI to help research, but I always go back and I check the links that it's going, and I asked to see if I find is there any mention of them mentioning 2011 earthquake
in
before
2008?
Yeah, it says no, but then again, I think about this. You don't mention it in. Okay, either bullshit or not. So something happens, they mention something about, you don't even think about it until it actually happens. You're like, holy shit, that's exactly what that broadcast said about the 2011 Pacific quake. That just happened on Japan.
Okay, well, that's some people.
I'm just saying, yeah, for some people, yeah.
Some people would start being like Sherlock Holmes, that shit, and they'd be like, okay, this is what they mentioned.
Right.
They mentioned
especially
Mars,
if you go back when,
Mars mining initiative, we're not on Mars.
Maybe, and maybe it was so weird and fantastical what they experienced. They didn't even really think about the TV broadcasting until stuff happened. I don't know. If I'm with you, if this whole thing was weird and everything disappeared, I would go over everything,
I would have went over every inch that I watched.
I would go with that buddy. I'm like, what did they say on that TV broadcast again?
Yeah.
We should mark this down in case.
Remember the TV?
They talked about
did
Mars.
The lady tell us?
Another thing was a Mars mining something.
Do you
or whatever.
remember the slip they gave us?
Yeah, exactly. So instead of a time slip into the past, there's a time slip into the future, supposedly. Again, it depends. I know a lot of you out there are skeptics, and it's all bullshit, but they are fun stories to listen to.
Yeah,
and there are some believers stuff. If this story is true, it is very weird how it's a futuristic one, And I like how you said when her voice started going out is because they was beginning to time slip back. Because as soon as they walked out, it was back to almost
Yeah.
normal, but sedans and
But
stuff.
then
and
nothing was there,
they're
though.
gone.
So then,
Yeah, that's weird.
so my thing is, okay, maybe that diner. This is the only logical thing I can think of why there was a motorcycle there, from like a more our time appropriate. I wonder if there's a diner there now.
Yeah.
Wherever they like, I wish they said like the coordinates at least.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is a diner, maybe now or in the future, maybe like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's why they saw the motorcycle.
Maybe. Again, maybe the time.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Right.
And then it was
Again.
going back in time to theirs. And then by the time they got back into 97,
Right.
nothing exists.
So, I mean, we could start going a little bit to. Do we have any more stories?
No, I'm
I guess
good.
go a little bit to like theories and our thoughts and some of our in-depth stuff. So, like this story right here, some people think like the diner was a temporal anomaly. Vacation that different eras overlap. Obviously, so the whole time slip thing I'm thinking about, you can look at different ways. Everyone talks about time, and we talked about this before. Supposedly, they say time is not a linear, is not a
No,
line.
we don't really know what time is.
Right. From the best guess, they can say everything happens at once, but our mind puts it as a linear thing because
Yeah.
otherwise we can't comprehend.
Yeah.
We can't comprehend being born and dying all at once, at the same time, because that's basically the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. Ow! Exactly. And everything
God,
all
that
at once.
sucked.
So
Like,
when
I
this
got
happens,
married.
and the time stuff can in other, I'm not even talking different dimensions, just different times, but then in different dimensions. String theory. They can blur every once in a while, just randomly, and other places like Bolt Street that a lot of this stuff happens a lot for some reason because of ley lines.
I think
I don't
that's
know.
ley
There's a lot of
lines.
stories from Bolt Street, not just
Or a-
time slips,
or
just
a
a lot
witch.
of weird stuff.
Maybe a witch cursed that area.
Maybe.
Maybe they hung her and she
Right.
was like, "Ow."
So this crack in time, was LM was witnessing a possible. It doesn't mean it was our future. It could have been a possible future from a different dimension, different
Okay,
era.
so this is.
alternate realities. You got the whole thing.
I'm gonna say this. I'll say this. I have a feeling even 100 years from now, 1950 diners are gonna be a thing. Just because they're vintage and that,
Yeah.
like, for some reason we hold on to that era.
It's a
even
pleasant-
nowadays
it's a
we
pleasant
make it.
feel in those diners, yeah.
Peggy Sue's and
Yeah, exactly.
wherever that place is when you go into California.
Yeah,
That diner.
yeah. You
All
like
that
Stuckies? Oh, no, not Stuckies.
No. The one. Yeah, it's just
Big Bob's Big Boy. No, I know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like humans love certain eras just because of the look and the way they acted. And
Yeah.
And I mean, even when you watch some Star Trek, they have 50s diners in there.
So, like you said, you mentioned Back to the Future. It's always
They
that,
had
that
50s
that
diners.
50 diners day. It's
So
just a
I'm
weird
thinking maybe
piece of Americana that we all hold on to.
even if that was 200 years in the future,
yeah,
because they're mining maybe 100 years, because maybe 100 to 200 years, I'd say. Because if they're mining Mars,
yeah,
definitely have to be down the road.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're more robotic type people.
Yeah.
Maybe we're more cyborgish.
Well, if you think about it, so maybe at that point we all have we talk about our phones.
We have chips in our mind. Yeah.
So what those people were doing, they're on their phone just without physically phone. Your phone is basically in your eyesight, talk about the glass you put on, you can see everything, you can do your computer stuff. They're doing that. That's why it looked like they're just kind of, and then maybe they suddenly noticed these people that are out of time, and they looked, that's why they're all looking, I'm like,
or
they're scared, like, what the hell is that? Because they see these two guys that are out of time, basically. And
or they can actually realize that they're not supposed to be there.
maybe.
Or
Exactly.
or maybe that they're so far in the future and they have such good technology that they can see that they're flickering out.
Right. That's what I mean. So maybe they're looking and
They go,
those patrons were kind of scared or kind of freaked out. That's why they didn't say anything. They just kind of stared at them
or
like,
maybe they're like, oh, we got another one.
yeah. Or then after those guys left, they were like, did you guys, we all saw that, right? That's fucking weird. Yeah.
It's like, hey,
exactly.
Jim, you see that again?
Yeah,
I
Jim.
saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. I told you to stop talking to me.
Stop it. Every time people come in from a different time,
Right.
I don't need to hear about it. All right? It happens all the time.
What other of these things, other than like a dimensional slippage, another one is people say it's a glitch in the Matrix. So our programs are getting mixed up with other programs. Because if, say, the Matrix movie, which was other than being
That's
a great
a
movie,
whole nother thing
exactly,
of itself.
other than being a great movie,
Simulation theory.
is a whole simulation theory. Now let's put this out here for time slips, because we're in a program. What does it mean? why is it just one program? There could be 1,000 different programs, and sometimes those programs, because they're
be
so
a
together,
million.
kind of bump into each other, and then little time slips. I don't know. There's always glitches in the
what the
matrix.
future looks like.
Exactly. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's just a little bit kind of overlap. Regardless of, especially if everything's all at once, especially if time's all at once. There's an overlap. It doesn't matter if it's future, past. Just kind of.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, sometimes too, and especially on the future thing, we always talk about people coming, back. What about people who went over and never made it back?
Yeah.
Past. And now people say, well, we'd find evidence of that. Okay, so maybe.
Would you?
Would we?
No, but really, would you?
Would you? Depending on what happened to him.
So my thing is, okay, let's say you're in Greece during like the Spartan Wars.
Yeah.
You got dropped right in the middle of a war.
Yeah, you get killed.
Thousands upon thousands of people died.
Yeah.
You're one body.
Yeah.
They're probably just going to grab you, throw you in a big ditch
Other
with the
than
rest of
maybe
the bodies,
kill you,
burn you.
Yeah.
So there's no disease.
Remember, if you're really different back then, they would just kill you. Like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, exactly.
And if you're,
right.
unless you're like a 7-foot tall person or like 6'5",
yeah. Even then,
you actually fit in with most people back then.
That's
I mean,
true.
they were like 4'10" to like
they don't know who you are.
5'5".
They would throw you in a whatever prison they had then.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't survive. It wouldn't, because you don't even understand. Even if you speak like the French, you go back there and their French is different, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"What's up with this fucker?"
Or you're trying to you're in the middle of the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And dude, they killed so many people.
Right.
They didn't give two shits. They
Right.
called everyone a spy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, if you look like this motherfucker,
Yeah,
look at it.
like,
Exactly. They're
I
killing.
mean,
You're dead.
If you
That's
think
it.
people back in the day were logical, they weren't.
No.
I mean, the guy that said that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, didn't they burn him at the
Just
stake?
he had to fucking run for his life. That's for damn sure. Yeah,
I think they killed him.
Yeah, they probably killed him. Exactly. Well, just like Tesla back then, the people were after him. They just thought it was fucking weird. All the stuff he was coming up with.
They
And,
killed Tesla.
Yeah, basically.
That's a whole nother thing too.
So what about people we left in the future? I mean, left in the future. Obviously, we're not going to see no signs of them now because they left in the future.
Okay, and then there's also the thing when you time slip. Do you go there in, we think we're in our clothes, but are we in their clothes? Do
Right.
we look like them?
Right.
Is
Enough.
there even a thing where, like the people back in the France, the little inn?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if someone from the 70s, 79 would have been bell-bottom jeans and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it was an outrageous bell-bottom jeans, it's different.
It would have been a girl in jeans,
Yeah.
a nice little top and a jacket and all that. That's not what they wore. That girl would have been in a dress type thing.
So people were
the
saying
men would have been in something.
And also, like I was saying too, is well, they're clothes because they saw their clothes, but how could they not see it? Well, there's no rules to time slips.
No, there isn't, because we
So
have
you're
no
right.
idea what they are.
Those people from back then, if we time slip back there, it's weird because it doesn't mean it's always mixed. Maybe this line's here and our line goes over here and does this, and because it's doing that, what they look at is
they only see their reality.
Right. The only thing they can say is our speech and our whole other than material things we're not adjusting to it basically.
Well, because that's why I'm thinking
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
one side of that group realizes they're time slipping.
Right. The other ones are just not. Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking if you go into that reality
Yeah.
or that time, they're just seeing normal people.
Right. Well, yeah. They're seeing, but there's these people act a little
And
weird.
that's why
but,
they gave him the francs.
Yeah.
The guy goes, "Oh yeah, all right, cool."
Yeah. At first they try to pay more. No, it's not. And no, it's only 19. Please. I don't want your money. I spit on your money.
I smoke a cigarette. Fuck your baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you're saying that doesn't make any sense, I go, time slips don't make any sense, man. There's no fucking rules to this shit. You
And
know?
then also, there's that time slip where the people were very interactive, and then there's the time slip where the people cease to exist, or are very painting, where they're stuck in time in a certain spot.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of again, it's not all. There's no rules to it. So yeah, there's one where that Versailles one where they saw both. They saw one lady kind of stuck, almost like a mannequin.
But
and
they
then
were also going through different
that's
sections
another thing
of time.
too. And the time slip doesn't always just kind of slip something. I think a lot of them are kind of ended up, or sometimes they're kind of up and down. There's no.
Yeah.
Again, there's no rules to this. It could just be bumping into it like this. It could be I'm going in and out. So that's what your experience and the movement. you're moving through time, and obviously that means those people are frozen because you're moving through that until you hit a spot where you get to talk to somebody and interact, and then you're moving back out,
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of these people will feel that, they feel that weird
That energy.
energy. Some do, some don't. Some
Like my thing with the soldiers, when they got stuck in that medieval time for like 25 minutes.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, the other people slept the whole night.
Yeah, that's true.
So like they're stuck, but they said they had that eerie sadness.
Yeah.
The evil, maybe that village was deserted because maybe someone just came through and wiped them all out.
Well, here's my theory on that one. So when we talk about different times, and we talked this before the episode, I think some of these time slips, you go to a time that is before anything's there. Like they're going to an empty time that already happened. That's why you don't see anybody. You go into a time.
Oh, you were talking about, yeah, okay. Oh.
So maybe they're time slipping to 2 seconds in the past that we already passed through. There was a very good movie, a Stephen King movie, and I gotta find the name of it, where people were stuck in 2 seconds, or it was like a minute or something behind normal time. So there was nothing there. There was no people there. All the buildings were there, and there was these things that were eating up the past because we already lived through it. So maybe they're stuck in a time where people have already gone through, and they're just experiencing just the rest of existence. Okay. Which is a weird thought. I don't know if I explained that right, but it's very liminal, basically.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
Or
liminal
hear me
spaces.
Out. What if we're talking about dimensional, right?
Yeah.
They said they had a feeling that they were being watched and surrounded.
Yeah.
So what if they were interdimensional beings at that point?
Yeah.
And they couldn't see what was around them, but the people in that village could see them.
Exactly, yeah.
So what they only saw was like almost like a picture.
Yeah.
The village, nobody there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were sitting at the top of a hill watching it. So what if that whole village looked up and they saw these 3 people and they're like, okay, that's weird. And then they started surrounding these people, and now those people are not interacting with that village.
Right, exactly.
And so they're going, okay, so what's wrong with these people? And that's why they had that feeling.
Obviously, they noticed they're different because they look different.
Yep, they're in soldiers' outfits and stuff.
Like,
and maybe, so they were just, that dimension was just blurred just enough.
Where they couldn't see them, but they could see them. Again, there's no rules to it. Yeah, that too.
But they could feel it.
But there's other time slip stuff like that happen too. And again, it's very liminal spaces, which is a very odd, like no one's around, but maybe they are. Like you said, maybe they can't see them, but the people see them. That's why they get fear in getting watched, because like at that point, after a certain point, these other people from the other time or dimension or reality or wherever suddenly notice like, oh, who the hell is that? Like, what the fuck are they wearing, kind of thing. And then that's when those people start getting like, shit, I feel like I'm being watched, kind of bullshit.
Yeah, because like the ladies, when they're walking, they said that they saw the person stuck in time like this.
Yeah.
So what if they're just seeing the exact same thing? They're seeing like
Possibly.
3 guys just going.
Yeah. Right.
And they're going, okay, why are they frozen? Yeah. Why are they not moving? They're not breathing.
Exactly.
What's going on with
What's going on? Yeah. Very interesting. So another theory we can go is, could this explain a lot of ghosts, a lot of residual ghost hauntings and stuff? You know?
There was stories. We didn't. So when we did this show, we incorporated the ones where people go back into time, like they actually slip into time, not staying here and then something happens.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories that I read. There's one about a cottage, like this big grand 3-story cottage.
Yeah.
And these certain people, that when they walk down that road, this cottage doesn't exist.
Right.
And then every once in a while, they'll walk down that road. They're still in their time, but the cottage is there.
Gotcha.
And there's a horse and buggy that always almost runs them over.
Yeah.
Like residual ghosts.
Right.
So is that a time slip?
So this, I'd say, like, and the people who bring up the residual hauntings, it's not a haunting, because when they're doing time slips, you're feeling, you're smelling, you're touching.
They can
it's
feel.
It's more than just seeing a ghostly apparition, or not even ghostly apparition. You actually interact with them. Right. It's something where they're walking on the street. Next thing you know, they're walking on grass. They can smell like the manure. They can smell. Yeah, it's more.
This one is, but this one is, you're still in like 2025.
Yeah.
And this old I think it was 1600 cottage pops up.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you used to be on like a dirt road. Now you're on a cobblestone street.
Yeah.
The one guy said he even walked into the cottage.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. You can actually interact with stuff.
And they said they walked in the cottage, they were in it, they checked it out, and when they left, all of a sudden the cottage disappeared. So that would that just be a time slip of that cottage coming to our time?
Yeah. Could be. So here's a maybe an explanation for residual hauntings or hauntings in general. Maybe these are time slips, but they're not full. They're just enough for time slip just for visual, and then
We
they
did.
work back.
Remember, we were talking about that.
We did. We'd sprung out before.
Yeah.
So maybe these time slips are more of a full dip into it. Instead of just being able to see it a little bit, you actually get into there where
Yeah.
you can walk
So you're
into
not
it.
just seeing a
You
shadow.
can actually interact fully. I mean, sometimes people interact with, but you can actually have conversations.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all one and the same. It's just how far you go into that time slip. Maybe they're all time slips.
It could be.
Maybe you see your, but you know,
Or maybe it's you in the future.
maybe it is.
I don't know. Or in the
Maybe.
past. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
But I like it. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting stories.
Very interesting.
I mean,
Yeah, very.
I like the credible ones.
The credible ones, but no, yeah, the ones that kind of there are a few out there that can make you like, okay, this one kind of seems, interesting.
Well, like the police officer, he was like, he just goes, yeah, that
Right.
was really weird. Why?
Right. And if if you believe in kind of a paranormal ghost stuff, you should believe in time slips because they could be one and the same. They could be.
True.
Just different variations of it, basically. Again, these time slips don't have any rules to them, so people are like, well, how come this and this? Like,
We
well,
have
maybe,
no idea.
Like the money, maybe the Francs, maybe when that old person, the old innkeeper saw it, it was his money. I don't know. Maybe the futuristic one, maybe the money that's like, it was enough of a thing like, oh, okay. Well, that's a little weird.
The futuristic thing, what I'm wondering if they know what money is.
Yeah.
Because it's our past.
Yeah.
So she probably looked at it, registered what it was, goes, okay, this will cover the bill.
Yeah, exactly. So another.
I don't know why he has it, but okay.
One more
like
theory,
gold.
right? One of those more theories about that diner is, being by Area 51, it could have been an alien way station. Maybe that's why people were weird. But it was enough of
Maybe.
a slippage where it's not supposed to be
thinking
there.
cyber.
These guys saw it and they weren't supposed to get. They got in. They saw. That's why maybe the waitress was like a kind of robotic humanoid or
I
whatever.
want to know if
out
there's
there.
I want to know if there's a diner out there.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean,
I wonder if they built one already.
Right. Maybe because those patrons, the way they were acting, they were not really human. They're talking about
thinking-
tall whites out there, and they were enough to tall whites, other than being really big, can be humanish. Especially
but
out there
they're
in
not
Area
really
51.
nice to people,
Exactly.
though.
So our
Come
theories.
back anytime.
Yeah.
No.
So space-time distortions, basically, here's another electromagnetic field interference. Maybe the high magnetic activity in the area is what causes those little time slips. That I don't know. We just people always talk about.
We don't really know.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about multiverse stuff and what it's called the inflation, the cosmology. Just a rapid expanse of universes. They say they keep growing. Sometimes maybe because the growth kind of just bumps into each other because if there's multiple universes and they kind of push up again.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think of like bubbles. That's what all the
basically,
universes.
and they kind of touch every once in a while. Exactly.
And the ones that die out are just voids.
There's a lot of stuff over there, and obviously the psychological thing, it's just people with just false memories, mass hysteria. People think, especially if it's one person, they go, okay, it's just you dreamt this. It's just I'm just thinking the
Yeah, but,
psychological, skeptical version of it.
The girl, the people that took the photos.
Yeah,
You clearly took a photo of something because
Right.
it just registered
exactly.
white.
Yeah.
That's something.
Skeptical part is like, well, these people are fake because they're going on and they're trying to make money off it. They're trying to get not even money. They're just trying to get noticed about it.
But then why go back?
Right. I don't know. I mean, the skepticals are like, they're just bullshit artists. They're just trying to get noticed. They're trying to get maybe some kind of monetary.
Yeah, some of them I believe are.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them are, and it is the internet and basically.
But I think the ones that keep going back to the site,
Yeah.
asking people, hey, look, I went in this thing. I don't know what happened. There was an in right here. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, there wasn't an in right
I
there.
think the ones that the stories are always consistent and they don't change are the ones that kind of would make you pause.
Yeah.
I don't know what I believe. Again, there's so much bullshit out there and stuff, and some of the stuff is again with the story with the hotel and the money and the clothing. Go, well, like we talked about. Well, what if the old people from back then didn't see that? They just saw them in regular clothing. They just know these people
They're just
acting
normal
weird.
people.
Those people were acting a little weird, but yeah, there's no rules to it. Sorry, that's me. There's no rules to any of this time slip stuff, so we don't know.
No.
Again, very interesting, very weird. It's very cool stories. It'd be very
like
interesting
it.
to find. I wouldn't mind time slipping just a little bit. I don't want to be stuck there, but just kind of be cool
We
to
can time slip
experience it.
together, so we can be like, all right, that happened.
As long as we're holding hands.
Skipping down the street. But hey, we have to do that in the right time because that might not be acceptable.
No, that might not be. Yeah, that's true. Oh God, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might not be. Yeah,
Get
We'll
'em.
be lynched. Get them. Not my America. Like, no, we didn't time slip. We're just in Arkansas. I'm just joking. Sorry. Sorry, Arkansas. I'm just joking. Yeah,
We love you, Arkansas.
Yeah, we like. All right, man. We have anything else to go over? Or?
No,
I mean, we can totally delve into all these theories and stuff and time slips, but what do you guys think, man? Tell us what your thoughts on time slips are. Other than, yeah, we know they're bullshit, being skeptics out there, but what are your
They're
things?
fun.
But they could be.
It's
They're
just
fun to
fun
look
little
into.
thing,
It
you
is.
know?
It is fun. And
And then if it happens to you, then you're going to be like, yeah, okay, I believe
exactly. It's always bullshit until it happens to you.
it. Exactly.
I'm going to print that on a T-shirt.
Always bullshit. So like, hey, we'll just, get that registered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Trademarked.
Yeah, trademark that way.
It's trademarked.
Trademark that. Yeah, don't fucking touch. Hey, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share the show. We'll come back out again. Hey, they're going to be dropping some solo stuff here too soon.
Yeah.
As of, we're recording this, but today I'll be dropping a solo episode, and we'll get stuff out as soon as
We
possible.
hope you like it.
Please, guys, again, comment on the show, please. If you got any ideas you want us to cover, please do. Other than that, good?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye. Beep, whoop.